Well, hey, my friends, welcome back to the podcast. This is Monday Fire episode number 89. Now, listen, I've literally prayed before I did this podcast. Lord, let me do this justice. Let me convey what might be on your heart. Let me say this in a way that doesn't come off as a knucklehead, etc. But I want to talk today about Christians and using the Enneagram. And please know that, I'm not a theologian, I'm not a pastor, I'm none of those things, but I see some conversation about the Enneagram, and I've received some DMs asking me like how I navigate that, because there's articles out there that we as Christians should stay away from the Enneagram, etc. We are even incorporating some parts of like the Enneagram into a boot camp that I've got started next week, which I hope you're going to sign up for at the Better Way Bootcamp.com, where we talk about a better way of doing business in the online space, a better way of, making money for your family. Just a better way of doing that, because everything's different in 2021 than it has been in past years, and figuring out what the best way for you to do for a business, the best method of you making revenue, like figuring that out. There's some tools that I like people to use. We have some quizzes that we've made up. Is that the plural word of quizzes? Quizzes. Sure. For this is a split second, I was like, or is it quiz-I? Okay. All right. Sorry. It's definitely not quiz-I. So anywho, okay, so we've got some tools that we like people to use, because based on a couple of things like, are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? Like maybe you should do this revenue stream. Like if you've already got a really good following, like maybe affiliate income would be super easy for you. If you like to kind of be one and done, you don't like a schedule, all those things, like you should maybe do a course. So, but also knowing what your Enneagram number is can be really helpful in that as well. And so that causes sometimes for people to have some questions like, whoa, is it okay for us as Christians to be using the Enneagram? So that's what I want to chat with you about today. And I hope that this is going to be helpful. Okay. So, first of all, just in case you're listening and you're like the Ennea what? It's the Enneagram, Enneagram, the Enneagram. So it's basically a test that you take in the online space that will give you 9 different like personality types. So you guys have probably heard of the DISC personality profile. You've probably heard of the Myers-Briggs. Like there's lots of personality tests, right? And so, so it's a personality type. You can literally Google like free Enneagram test. My friend Beth has, she's yourenneagramcoach.com, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But basically, when you take the Enneagram, it kind of describes like your personality type and gives you some of your strengths, your limitations, your motivators, your stressors. Let me give you like my Enneagram. I am an Enneagram 3, which means that I am what's known as the achiever personality. I hated that, by the way, when I first read this. So I'm success-oriented, pragmatic, adaptive, excelling, driven, and image conscious. Doesn't that make you feel like I'm a nice person? So I remember when I first took that test, I hated it because I'm like, I don't want to be image driven, like gross. But what the test actually does is it will help you to discern like, this is how the healthiest version of my personality, and this is the unhealthiest version of my personality. And it takes all types, by the way, to make the world go round. And so basically the Enneagram helps you understand like really how you can relate to other people based on their Enneagram. And so for that reason, I have found it to be a really good tool. When I had my husband take the Enneagram test, Mr. Magic, his Enneagram came up as an Enneagram 8. So the Enneagram 8 is known as the challenger. So here's his description: powerful, dominating type, self-confident, decisive, willful, and confrontational. And here's why I'm a fan of the Enneagram. When my husband took that test and came back and said that he was a type 8, and I was like, okay, I don't know anything about the Enneagram. What's a type 8? And I read it. I was like, oh my goodness. This is why we have fought our way through our marriage of 24 years. Not literally, but it's because his personality is he's not challenging. His personality is one of which likes challenges, likes banter, likes back and forth. It's interesting to me because I have said several times to Jason in our marriage, like, why every time do we go on vacation, do we fight? Why do you want to pick a fight with me whenever things are going like really, really, really well in life? I feel like he wants to pick a fight. Well, it's because through a lot of like deep conversation and us both trying to, better ourselves and our marriage, we have figured out that a lot of times an Enneagram 8 will almost pick fights with the people that they love the most, because when they are in challenging conversations and when they are bantering back and forth, they feel loved. And what's interesting is I'm like hightailing it the other way emotionally, because I'm like, why does this knucklehead just want to fight all the time? Life is great. We shouldn't be fighting on vacation. This is dumb. And Jason's just seeing it as a way for us to connect. Does that make sense? So when I tell you that something like the Enneagram has been a huge blessing to my marriage, it's because it's given me a lot more insight on how he reacts to things and also how I react to things. And why, when I say we should do this, he automatically a lot of times will come back at me with the reasons that maybe is not a good idea. The Jen 5 years ago would have thought, oh, he's just shooting holes in all my dreams. No, he's wired. He's wired to kind of go, but what about this? But what about that? Did you think about this? And so knowing that has made a huge difference in our marriage. I hope that was kind of a really good example. Okay. So here's where the controversy comes in. That people want to know is, should the Enneagram be used by Christians? And some of the reason why people would say it should not is because there are some people that think that the roots, there's some people that think the roots come from Russia. There's other people that think the roots come from the Greek culture. And there's other people that say they come from the occultists, and that it's witchcraft. Okay. So here's what I would say to that. All right. The Enneagram is just a test. It's just a tool. And when you think about like all of the things that we use, like with the tools I use for email, the tools that I use, like a calculator, I don't know who invented the calculator. I don't know if the roots of the calculator were from somebody that was in the occult. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we have tools that we use already, right? And so I think what is important is a couple of things: that we become more obsessed with the one that gives us tools to help us on this side of heaven than the tool itself. So for the people that are so far down the Enneagram rabbit trail that that's like the first thing they ask people, and they're, studying it day and night, like that to me is where we're getting into something weird. Okay. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the people who are wondering if it's even okay because they've seen articles in the online space. For me, the Enneagram is a tool. I use tools every day. I use tools in my weight room, to make my body more fit. I get on a Peloton bike. It's basically a tool to health, right? And I'm not really going and looking through all of the roots of that. Now, and so if you're going to go through and look at roots, I mean, Christmas is a pagan holiday, folks. If we're going to go all the way back, like, should we be celebrating Christmas because it's a pagan holiday? And so I think that it takes maturity. And I think to everybody who's listening, like you need to discern what the Lord is saying for you. This is why it's so important that you have your own relationship with the Lord, that you're, in your own prayer time with the Lord, that you learn to hear the Lord's voice, because me just telling you it's okay for me does not mean it's okay for you. There are a lot of things that I won't mess with. I won't do it because I know that they're not okay for me. Number one, horoscope. I won't do it. I don't do horoscopy stuff. I just don't do it. I don't do horror movies. For me, I know I can't. The Lord has shown me, don't do that. There are certain things I'm not willing to dip my toe into. Does that make sense? So part of it is discernment on what the Lord has for you. The other part is, where's your level of maturity? I can remember several years ago, this is maybe a good example for some of you. Like if you don't have any red flags about the Enneagram, like quit depending on what everybody else is telling you. And if it's perhaps a tool that the Lord would like for you to use in order to give you some self-awareness and to help bridge some gaps between you and people in your work environment, or you and people that you're living with in your home, like that to me is a win-win. I know our son Noah, for instance, he's an Enneagram 7, which means life's just a party for him. He's like, it's got to be fun, or I don't even want to be here. Nell, who works with me, who is my sales and marketing director, she is an Enneagram 7. That's helpful for me to understand how her mind works. She's very incentivized by, fun and everything not being like mundane. And as you know, so I'm married to Jason, who's an Enneagram 8. Jenna on my team is my operations director. She is an Enneagram 8 also. So that helps me to discern how to deal with both of them. My son Easton is an Enneagram 3, which means he's a mini version of me. And so I know what some of my Achilles heel things are, or do you say that Achilles tendon? I know what some of the traps are as an Enneagram 3. I know, I wish I knew more about this 20 years ago, because it would have helped me to not feel like the odd man out in a lot of situations. And also I could have probably avoided some pitfalls along the way, because we Enneagram 3s, man, we can be driven. We can be tunnel focused. We can be, more concerned with results than we are with relationships. And, so it helps me to discern, how do I need to parent Easton based on the fact that he's wired similar to, words are hard, guys. I'm just coming back from vacation, similarly to me. So I hope that that is really, really helpful. It's always concerning if we're going to make something into an idol, and if we're going to live and die by a tool. But the tool in and of itself, for the most part, is just that. And so pray about it. That's the bottom line. Pray about it. Ask the Lord if the Enneagram is okay for you. Don't get obsessed with it, but use it as a tool to help in some of your relationships if you're going to use it. So we're going to be talking about, like I said, how the Enneagram relates to things that you could be doing in the online space. Because if you're an Enneagram 8 and you really like challenging and confrontation and things, there's some things that probably are a better revenue stream for you than others. If you are like me and you're an Enneagram 3, there's probably some revenue streams that are going to do better for you than others. If you're a 7 and you're like, life's a party. If you're a 2 and you're a peacemaker, those are the only ones I really know off the top of my head. There's some revenue streams that could just be better positioned for you to have the most success in quickly. So go sign up for my bootcamp. It's called the Better Way Bootcamp.com, because there is a better way to doing business. It's in the online space. There's a better way to setting up your business online, so you're not working like a hamster on a wheel. So you're not, trying to make your business look like Suzy Q's down the road, so that you're actually building the business that God designed you to build. Because you're designing the business that you're already wired for. We're taking the things that you're already really good at and going, okay, girl, do this based on this quiz. Does that make sense? So go to betterwaybootcamp.com. We will be starting real soon. And by the way, I'm doing another podcast on Wednesday where I'm going to give you some strategy, a little more strategy about the Enneagram. Go listen if you feel like it's okay. We'll see you on Wednesday. Okay. Bye-bye.